Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Totally Stumped podcast, episode number 6. We are here, me, myself, and Stumpy. Hello, Stumpy. How's it going? How has your week been, buddy?
It's not been too bad. I've been struggling on, as they say, trying to do my best. What about yourself?
It's been all right. Yeah, it's been pretty chill week. It's been like my first official week like back at uni. So yeah, it's been pretty good actually. I've quite enjoyed it. So it's been a good
Oh,
time.
let's go. Are you travelling up or are you staying down for the party?
No, 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 no. I'm traveling.
Fair. Probably the smarter decision.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the travel is a bit like it's a bit long distance, but it's all right. It's worth it. It's good fun. Like,
Mhm.
I like the coast.
Yeah, that's fair. You probably have mates up there you can stay with too if you do decide, oh, let's go out, let's go mad. And then we can get
Indeed,
more
yo.
wise drunk stories.
Hell yeah, more wise drunk stories. Yo, that's some content for the podcast right there.
Absolutely. Pure farming you for content, so well.
Whoa, 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 whoa! None of that. Come on, man. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Look, we gotta farm you for some content. I'm already like such a big attraction, dude. I can't take so much of the podcast.
Sure, I'm Irish. Everybody just assumes I'm drunk anyway. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, on to our first topic of the day then. It is gaming. It is what we know, the lifeblood of this podcast. And we're starting with a bit of a debate of solo games versus multiplayer games. What are the good points? What are the bad points? Which do you prefer?
I mean, for me, like, I don't know. I would say like multiplayer games are still the yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Can I ask wait, no, I'm being stupid. Yeah, multiplayer games are definitely the best.
Mm-hmm.
I for some reason I was thinking like if I played like Killer in like a DBD for example, that would be solo, but it'd still be multiplayer because I'm playing against other
Yeah.
players. But it's like I'm playing a solo role. So yeah, I'm an idiot. No, a multiplayer is definitely my favorite for sure. Like I pretty much only play multiplayer games. The only sort of solo games I play are games that are storytelling based, like The Walking Dead, like Telltale's The Walking
Mm-hmm.
Dead, Life is Strange, games like that. And even then, like Dark Pictures anthology games, for example, another storytelling game, I will sometimes play with a friend, and then it becomes a multiplayer game. And so for me, like multiplayer games are a lot more enjoyable because getting to share those sort of experiences with friends or going against other like real players rather than AI and whatnot is just generally more satisfying for
Mm-hmm.
me. It's nice to have that interaction with people. So, and there's a lot more. I feel like there's more like expression in multiplayer games because AI are only going to do so much typically, but you get all sorts of players in multiplayer games of all different skill levels, and it's a bit unpredictable and a bit hard to figure out, and it can be very fun in my opinion. So multiplayer games definitely superior in my eyes.
Mm-hmm. I think for me it kind of depends because obviously multiplayer you get to play with your friends, you get that fun element. It's unpredictable. It's some of the funniest moments can come out of someone doing something completely wrong. Uh, the likes of Lethal Company, even DBD, when you're messing around having fun, it can be some of the funniest times. But then also, if you just want to chill out and get away from the world, solo games are really good, or like story games are really good to just get yourself immersed in, just chill for a night away from it all. Like if your social battery is completely spent, it can be great to just it can just be great to go and just sit, play a game, escape from the world for a while, and just enjoy yourself. So I think that aspect of it can be good. Also, I've been playing on stream a lot lately and playing solo games on stream, and some of the moments you can even have in solo games with chat can be hilarious. But I'd say there's good and bad to both, and I'd probably sway towards multiplayer more, but there's definitely times when solo is where I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, like as I say, like The Walking Dead, Life is Strange, those sort of games. Those are games I've said before. Like have meant like a lot to me. Very, very great games. A lot of great experiences with them. They're some of the first games I think of when I think of my favorite games of all time. So like, there are some really good solo games, but I do just think most of my time is spent multiplayer. I think multiplayer is still pretty superior, but I do think solo does have a good place as well for sure.
Mm-hmm. A lot of solo games being remastered at the minute too, so it gives you a good chance to play them. Like I see Until
Yeah,
Dawn is getting a remaster for PC, so that'll definitely be one to play
yeah.
soon.
looking forward to seeing that one as well. Might try that when it comes out.
Mm. So then that leads nicely into like other games that we're playing at the minute that aren't DBD, because DBD is obviously our big topic, our game that we always play that we put way too many hours into. So what other games are you using to take yourself away from the DBD world at the minute?
Okay, so recently I started playing Phasmophobia, so I've still been playing a bit more Phasmophobia lately. I'm starting to make some improvements to this game. I'm getting a little bit better at it, and I'm getting the ghost most of the time. But again, I don't play with single player. I'll play this with one other person each time. I'll kind of rotate between who it is, but
Mhm.
typically I go with one other person, and yeah, I'm starting to make some progress. I'm really enjoying the game. I'm kind of perplexed with the different rarities of equipment. I've figured out you can upgrade stuff, and like it's weird. Um, but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with Phasmophobia because I hadn't seen any of it before I started playing it, which is like about a month ago or so. But yeah, that was really, really, really fun times. Other games like, I mean, not really. Yeah, it's been mainly Phasmophobia when I've been away from Dead by Daylight. To be honest, that has been the main focus.
Hmm.
What about you, Stumpy?
I've kind of bounced around with a few different games lately. I've even fired up my old PS4 for one of them, and that's GTA,
Oh,
just so I could play it because
uh,
it's the account I have a lot of stuff on, not the PC one. But then obviously the likes
yeah.
of Cyberpunk, although it's becoming kind of stale because I've hit the stage in it where like I like to grind through games, so I've done a lot of the bits off the main story, so the little side missions. So my character, I've got way too much money in the game, and my character's way too upgraded for where I'm at. So I've kind of hit the stage where I'm too strong for the story, which is not good. Other than that,
Really?
after many months of saying I wouldn't buy the new FIFA or the FC 25, whatever you call it, I ended up buying it the day of release.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, but I know with it, it's more again. If I just want to chill out and play like a manager mode or something like that, go and play like a season or like make my friends in the game into a team and play like that. I'll do that more so than like Ultimate Team, which is filled with a load of shite and pay to win and all that. I just can't be arsed for that. Equally, Pro Clubs kind of reminds me of Cyberpunk now because you can edit people's faces and everybody is now seems to be playing the game of let's see what the most fucked up looking face we can make is in this game, and you score, run to the camera, and it's just hilarious because somebody's made this face that just otherworldly creature is just coming running towards the camera, which makes it a lot more fun. So I'd more straight to those game modes away from like the microtransactions of FIFA, which EA are absolutely pumping development into. But yeah, that's what I've been at lately anyway.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Respectable, kind of. Not really. Disgusting. Hate FIFA players. I would never play such a game. I would never get the new FIFA. No, definitely not. Illegal.
But yeah, I touched on microtransactions there, and we've decided to talk a bit about those in games. And you were telling me before the podcast there are three types. So do you want to develop on that more?
Well, there's three types, like for me, at least, or at least that's what I. So I wrote an article about this, for my course last year, and it was about like whether microtransactions are ethical, what they are, things like that, whether they're harmful, things along those lines. And EA Sports was one game that I looked at to cover a certain portion of the different types of microtransactions. The three types that I referred to in my article were DLC content, um, cosmetic content, and sort of currency content. And the DLC is basically an expansion of the game already. You get an added, you get something in the game that expands the game, makes it different, and just adds to an already existing story. And it's very common. It's been around for the longest time out of the three, I believe. And it's the most widely accepted. It's generally there's not really any problems with it in my eyes, other than maybe some things can be overpriced, but that is not a microtransaction thing. That is just a general life thing.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't really a whole lot of issues with that. Then there's cosmetic microtransactions, which the most prominent example would probably be a game like Fortnite, where they make a ton of money, basically everything, I think, from microtransactions for cosmetics, with all the different licenses and characters they bring in. And they don't actually impact the gameplay in any way other than appearance. They don't help you out. They don't make you perform better. It's not pay to win necessarily, unless you count like blending into some niche surrounding as pay to win. So again, not super harmful. It's just more accessory. I think it's fairly healthy. So again, I wouldn't say it's a problem. And then you have the currency one, which is typically used to enhance what you already have in a game. And this is already problematic because it can be pay to win, as you say. If you spend more money than someone who is more talented than you, then you may still easily beat them because you've spent a lot of money on upgrading everything. And that isn't really very fair feeling. It's not very good to be. It sucks to be a lot more talented and a lot better at the game than someone, but to lose them because they've spent thousands of pounds on the game. Nobody likes that. And the way this is done a lot of the time as well is through loot box systems like EA Sports with their packs, for example. And that is controversial because it has a lot of similarities with gambling, as you don't really necessarily know what you're going to get. It's kind of you open a pack and hope that it goes well, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And it's been a problem for a while. And EA have took steps to make it less of an issue. That's why a few years ago they brought in the percentage chances for the packs that minimized the case that people could make against gambling, because they gave some statistics on the odds of you getting certain players, technically, and that helped them get around the system a little bit. But even though they did that, there is still one country that has took action, maybe more, but I know Belgium were the first country to take action, if nobody else has. They have banned the purchase of FIFA points. I believe it should probably be the same for EAFC as well. It was last year, and it probably is this year, because they find the pack system to be too akin to gambling. And it does raise a lot of questions about the sort of morality of these microtransactions, and especially when so many young people play a game like EA Sports FC, encouraging gambling is definitely not something that I think the company would want. And they would argue and have argued that it's not gambling, but there are many people that would argue that it is. And so it is very controversial for that reason. And also, there is one other thing that is controversial about some microtransactions, particularly with the cosmetic ones. They are not free of controversy as well. They are less controversial than the purchase of currency, but there are microtransactions for cosmetics that are often limited time, and there is debates around that as well, because a lot of people would argue you're more likely to make a purchase of a cosmetic that you would never use because you're scared that you're not going to be able to get it again. And a lot of people have talked about their experiences online about purchasing these things and feeling pressured into them because they're scared they're not going to get them back at any point. And Fortnite has that to an extent as well with their skins, where they come back at a random point later in time in the long distant future. Or Dead by Daylight do it too, where they occasionally have an event like a skin that'll be around for a couple of weeks and then it'll come back next year or whatnot. And there's these sort of there's again a gray area there about whether that's morally right or not as well, because it preys on people who are kind of afraid of missing out on something, and they may buy something that they would never normally buy. So microtransactions in games are pretty problematic in my eyes to an extent. There are issues with all of them, and they do need to be regulated carefully, especially the currency-wise thing. I think that is the loot box systems for these games are not good, and I don't think anyone really appreciates pay-to-win so much, and I think that's being purged more and moving more towards cosmetics, but cosmetics over time have developed that limited time purchase thing. It seems like companies do try and find ways to push people to buy things, and the ways they are doing that is still maybe not always ethically correct.
Do you think then, if you were to rank them in terms of problematicness, that's not a word, currency would probably be the worst, cosmetics probably somewhere in the middle, and DLCs would probably be the least? Because I know if I was to make an example, I'd see DLCs as, like, for example, Cyberpunk had rough start, but when it eventually got developed well, its fan base loved it, so they brought out a new part of the story or a new storyline as a DLC, and everyone went, yeah, we love the first game so much, we'll take that, no problem. But it's not, you have to get this to make your own game experience better. You could play away on normal Cyberpunk, But if you want that bit of extra content, go ahead. It's there as an option. Cosmetics, similarly, you could play away at like DBD, for example, for years without ever buying a cosmetic and still enjoy it as much as somebody who has all the cosmetics. But it's personal preference. If you see a Huntress skin that looks absolutely classed, you're thinking that's a bit of me, I'll get that. It's not going to affect you in game. It's not going to help you unless it's a bug, which they have fixed with a certain Huntress skin. But it's more personal preference of, I want to look like this while I'm in game. That's cool. I want to see that on my screen while I'm in game. Whereas then, if I was to take FIFA as an example, it's gotten to the stage they bring out a new what they call promo every week, and if you don't get packs every week, you're falling behind big time. Like, you start with what we call a gold team, then there's promo number 1. You'll get the cards for it. There's promo number 2. They're stronger than promo number 1 cards. And as it goes on, weekly promos come out, and weekly the teams are stronger, or the players coming out are stronger than what you have. And if you don't keep it gets to the stage for some people, if they don't keep pumping money into the game, they're not going to be able to keep up. And that's kind of like where people are going, okay, this is not right. That's fucked. So it is completely.
Yeah.
That, and it is, as much as they want to say it's not gambling, it is pretty much the same as a slot machine. You're pulling that slot machine hoping you're going to get the big prize. Kids are buying packs hoping they're going to get a Messi, a Ronaldo, a big name player, you know? And I see that they've made it as well now. So they have 2 sets of in-game currency. They have FIFA points and they have coins. And now you can earn coins. It's kind of like experience, where the more matches you play, you could do this free to play and you can earn your coins. You can buy players with coins, or you can get these points for real life money. And they've now, what they used to have was packs. If you got a big player, you get 1 million coins, you know, by selling them. And that was great. They've now brought out packs that you cannot sell the players from, which means you can't get that in-game currency. So you'll be spending more on packs, and it's just, it's kind of, you're looking at them going, okay, you've figured out another way to maybe make a few more pound. But that's more of a, that side of it I don't think is a good side of microtransactions. I think that pay to win in any game, you're sort of going, right, why have you put this in? You're just looking money above the game, like, realistically.
Yeah, it does feel that way sometimes with a lot of games.
I think a big example of like a game that people thought that about, of like you're putting money above the game, was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A few months after it came out, had a big bug, and the hardcore players in that community were saying like, right, when are we going to get this fixed? You know, there's a certain bug with a character or a map, I can't remember what it was. And to combat this, the developers brought out a $16 Bubba skin. And the entire player base was sort of going, right, when are you going to fix that? Why have you brought this out? What's going on here? It's similarly in a lot of games, they've made the store and the game separate. So if the game crashes off the servers, funnily enough, the store doesn't. And a lot of people are looking at their game going, right, what's the story here? Why is the game down, but you're still willing to sell me X, Y, and Z in the store for real money? So it's kind of like companies need to find the balance of making a good game and making money. It's like, yes, you're a company, you're there to make money, but don't rip the arse out of it, you know?
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents on the matter anyway.
I think I agree, yeah.
But yeah, I don't think DBD has that problem so much. I mean, it's got the cosmetics transactions, you know, they are a choice. A lot of people see certain skins might blend them into maps better and things like that, or certain skins might be quieter when lifting a hatchet, things like that. But for the most part, it's not pay to win, especially since the strongest killer in the game is free with the game. So, saying that, we're moving on to DBD now, who brought back a fan favourite game mode this week of Chaos Modifier. Have you played it much?
I played a bit of Chaos Modifier, yeah, it's been alright. Again, I've not really played Survivor on it. I played one Survivor game of Chaos Modifier, so, you know, not the most experienced on there, but I did play quite a few killer games on there. And yeah, it's been decent. Like, I haven't minded it so much, but I don't know. Chaos Modifier is okay for me. I am not the biggest fan of it, just because like the perks most of the time, like it's nice to try new perks and have fun, but the problem is most of the perks, like, you don't get to try half of them. Like, they just don't do anything. Like, if you might get, like, I don't know, Blood Echo or something great, like that perk activates, but you don't see its activation. It doesn't change your gameplay really. Or like, you get Predator, you can see some scratch marks a little bit more. Great. Or Bloodhound, wow, blood's slightly more red. Like, it's a lot of the perks I feel like don't actually, like, yeah, there's variety, but the variety isn't really interesting. So I'm still not like a huge fan of Chaos Modifier on the whole. Um, Not really my sort of game mode, but it's been okay. What do you think, though,
Don't worry,
Stumps?
listeners. I'm
What do you
here
think
to
about
bring
it?
the balance. I've played both sides, but mostly
Mm,
Survivor because I was playing with a few
hey.
friends, and I think it is fun. Obviously, I don't run perks on Survivor, so it's nice to have perks, even if they are the crazy
Mhm.
funny ones. I've noticed this time round, a lot of my perks are working together more. So I'm trying to think of a good example
Mm.
because I've realized this the other day. I think it was I got Weaving Spiders and Resilience together, and it's been stuff like that where it's like different perks that work together. You keep getting together, if you know what I mean. It's like they've
Mm.
maybe looked at it a bit more of, maybe I'm just getting lucky, I don't know, but they've looked at it a bit more of like, oh, we're going to give them life in the randomizer. We'll give them Dance with Me as well, or we're going to give them Head On. We'll give them Quick and Quiet as well. I've just been getting a lot of combos like that, and I don't know if that is just pure luck or if they've actually looked at it and went, right, well, we're giving them perks that are stone useless without another perk, so let's pair those two up. And I really hope they have done
Yeah.
it, and I hope I'm not full of shit, but that's something I've been noticing more. I've also noticed you do find a lot of players struggle without their crutch perks. And I noticed that for the first day or two, and now I think they've went back to the base game. But there are people who run the same build time and time again, game after game, and they really seem to struggle in Chaos Modifier. But I would say if you're one of those people, 100% keep playing it because it's going to make you a better player. Because if you don't have your Dead Hard or your Sprint Burst or your Life every game, you're going to get better at running other perks. You're going to get better at not relying on those. It's 100% a better thing to do to play a Chaos Modifier at the minute to learn maybe. You might fall in love with a perk you've never used before, you know? You might have never used Lightborn, and you get it once, you get value out of it once, and you're going, you know what? That's a staple in my build from now on. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a great
Maybe.
place to try out new perks that you maybe wouldn't have used before. So it is.
That's true.
But yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. It's more balanced, I think,
Yeah.
than the base game because obviously you could load in at any time as a killer. Four people could have four syringes. They could have DS. They could have Unbreakable. They could have all have Dead Hard. Like there's that.
Hmm.
But with Chaos Modifier, you're loading in with God knows what. They're loading in with God knows what, and it makes it just a lot more unpredictable and fun, I think. But on the subject of
I
balancing,
I think like Chaos Modifier is a lot less balanced
do
personally.
you?
Like, yeah, I think so. Because like what you just mentioned, right? Like you mentioned like insta heals and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Stuff like that. You can bring all of that in Chaos Modifier as
No, that's
well.
true,
And
actually. Yeah.
and the thing and the thing is like killer perks are a lot more important than survivor perks generally, just because again, there's so many more survivor perks on the other side. The killer perks have a bigger impact in the match generally. I think Scott Jun said something similar to this as well. I agree with it. Um, and like if but most of the time both sides are not going to have very many good perks, but the bottom line is if both sides don't have very good perks that aren't really going to change a whole lot, it is a lot more survivor sided. um and then the survivors can still bring all of these, BNPs, map offerings,
Mm-hmm.
insta heals, diptychs, everything else that makes normal games so much more difficult. So I feel like it does stack against the killer a lot more, and Chaos Modifier, I think it's a lot less balanced than Mud.
Mm-hmm. Do you think if like add-ons for killers were stronger, it would maybe sort it out for that game mode?
I think that would be a really bad idea because, like, it depends on how they did it. Just because some killers have really strong add-ons and some killers have useless add-ons, and if you make like, I don't know, if you make some of the stronger killers add-ons, like maybe Spirit, you just make like, okay, Mother Daughter Ring, let's just like double that strength. Maybe make the phase even longer on like duration or whatnot. Suddenly you're talking like ridiculous add-ons for
Mm-hmm.
Spirit.
It'd be a case of
So it
they
depends.
wouldn't want to have to balance just for that game mode.
Yeah, I think so. So I don't know, but I do think it's a bit more unbalanced than the base game.
Mm-hmm. I do think there's some killers that probably don't really care about the perks that they get, with the likes of like a Billy, if he's bringing the right two
Yes.
add-ons, is going to be loving life no matter what you give him. The likes of Onryo has two very strong add-ons that if you bring them, the build doesn't overly matter.
Yeah. Well, if you have a really strong chase killer, you're going to be a lot better off in Chaos Modifier, just because you can tunnel like pretty freely. There's not likely to be any like anti-tunnel. So if you pick a nurse or like a Billy or a Blight or something, even though typically Chaos Modifier is going to favor survivors, if you play one of those killers and you play them well, you're probably going to win, because you can easily take someone out of the game quickly if that's how you choose to play.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, it can be difficult at times.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But we'll definitely have to play some more matches and find out for ourselves. You'll have to play some Survivor.
Absolutely. Hell no, I ain't doing that.
I definitely need to play some more Killer. I think I'm fairly even on which side I've played for the minute, but it is slightly tipping in Survivor way because just a lot of friends have been on recently, and I've been like, yeah, fuck it, let's play.
Ew. That's gross.
You who voted for the multiplayer games being the better, saying that's gross? Wow.
No, it's gross to play Survivor.
Ah, fair enough. Something that we will both be playing Survivor in though soon. There is a tournament coming up, and we thought, fuck it, we might as well talk about tournaments in general. What we think the best like layout for a tournament is, what layouts we've seen, because we've been in a few tournaments ourselves. Like we've been in more than a few probably between us. So we definitely have seen a lot of people trying to balance the game in their own special ways, and some more interesting than others, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, for example, I was in a tournament. Well, I played the first round of a tournament there last week. I will be in the second round coming up soon, where what is it? All add-ons are allowed except Eerie on every killer, and Wesker is the only killer banned.
Why the fuck is Wesker?
I don't know. I don't know. It is interesting. Like it's a cool change from your normal. I honestly thought there's no chance they're allowing Nurse. There's no chance they're allowing these add-ons on the likes of Blight, Spirit, Billy. And then I looked and all the add-ons were allowed, and Nurse is just sitting there, and you can run her two best add-ons on her. And I was thinking, right, okay. Maybe I'll put some hours into Nurse for the next round.
Hey, just let me on your account for the Nurse round.
Absolutely.
I'll
Controller and everything.
Yeah, let's go.
But yeah, what is maybe the weirdest balancing you've seen in a tournament?
Okay, well, I mean, the weirdest balancing. What's the weirdest balancing I've seen? That's a good question. I'm trying to think of like all the tournaments that I've played in. Like, what was the strangest balance possible? Well, I think all the tournaments I've played in have had like some relatively like grounded balancing. There's not been like any absolutely like crazy balancing I've seen. But yeah. There was one tournament. The first tournament I played in, they had like a setup where it was a little complicated. So each side would ban 3 perks. Killer side would ban 3 perks. Survivor side would ban 3 perks, and then the winner loses a perk.
Okay.
The winning team. So if it's survivors, they go down to 3 perks, and if it's killer, it goes down to 3 perks. And then each team bans another 3 perks, and now it's 6 perks bans for everyone. And then and again, if the other team wins again, then I think if the same player wins, so if killer wins like 2 in a row, it's just over. If survivor wins, it goes down again, and now it's free perks at both sides, and then there's another free perks band, and there's 9 perks band, and you can't use any of those. That's a bit confusing. That
Yeah,
format
it
is
sounds very
it's
confusing.
strange. So that was maybe the weirdest balancing that I'd seen. Um, and also it was random maps. Like you didn't set a map; it was just completely random. But well, to begin with, but the losing team got to pick the map the game after.
Hmm.
So it was a pretty big nerf actually, because like the winning team would lose a perk slot and the losing team would pick the map.
Yeah, it sounds like
So
you
it's
don't
like
want to
quite
win the first
quite a
round.
big.
Probably tactically, you should not win the first round.
No, because if you win the first round and then you lose the second, then you get to pick the map for the
Oh, this
final.
is true.
So you still want to win the first round.
That just sounds awfully confusing.
Yeah, no, it was a little bit. So that's probably the weirdest balancing I've seen.
Hmm.
But I've seen a lot of things. I've played in a lot of tournaments by now. It's been some, but that's probably been the weirdest one, I'd
No,
say.
I've seen tournaments where it's like they've just said, "Fuck it, let's run no perks so that nobody complain about or can complain about overpowered perks." And then it's like, okay, but everybody for that tournament just picked Nurse and Spirit. Like, what is it? What do you mean? Like, and the survivors could do fuck all. It's because no add-ons were banned or anything. It was just right. You can't run perks. Nobody can run perks. Survivors can't run perks. Killers can't run perks. And you're kind of sitting there going, this is not going to end well."
Yeah,
It just kind
I
of
mean,
set it up
like,
where it was like, right, let's run the most overpowered killers that don't need perks as much as the weaker ones. It was always going to happen.
I mean, the first tournaments like I played in, they had they had that setup I talked about, but they also had like a randomizer challenge where you'd all go on like random perks. It was before obviously any game modes were about or anything like that. And so they went onto like a DBD randomizer website and randomized the perk slots and everything. And there was also like perkless games and adept games where every single player had to play with the adept perks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were X killer, you had to be that, and they'd spin you for like which character you are, which was quite cool. Um, so that was fun. There was also no holds barred where they just got rid of all of the balancing and you could run anything if someone redeemed that. That was like a chat redeem, and that was like those games are kind of crazy.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very very cool. And then the other tournaments I played in were basically just they'd have a bunch of different tiers where all the killers would go on to. They'd spin a tier, and you'd pick a killer out of that, and then spin the map. There'd be perk bans on like no more than 2 slowdowns typically on gens or gates. And a couple of killers would be banned because people didn't know how to counter them and they just didn't want to learn. So that was like generally like the sort of generic format that I'd seen for most tournaments, but some unique ones. It's been cool too because I've met a lot of like really really cool people across these different tournaments as well. A lot of good memories. I remember in I think it was Quack a streamer called Quack's tournament. Me, Celestial Story, if you do not know them, they were mentioned in the first podcast as a streamer spotlight, absolutely legendary streamer. Slayer Leo Nano, who was also mentioned in one of our podcast episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and Phantom. And was like a really inexperienced team. This was like me with obviously like 3,000 and a bit hours, very experienced on that. But Celeste was like a little over 1,000 hours. Phantom was like a bit under that, like maybe 700 or 800.
Mm-hmm.
And Slayer was like a little under 1,000 hours, and Nano had like 200 or 300. It was a very inexperienced team, and we were up against the former champions of that tournament, which had like 20 something thousand hours. I think like 25,000 maybe,
Each.
and like a bunch of other teams. Not really. And like a bunch of other teams that like the team after that we played against had like maybe 15,000, I think, and then the team after that had around the
Mhm.
same, but I think more like 20,000. And we managed to get to the final with our team together, and that was like such a special tournament for me. Like we didn't win the final in the end, but it was close. But the fact that we managed to beat the former champions and like beat teams with like 3, 4, 5 times their hours was really really cool to see. So it was very very cool times, you know. So a lot of great memories made with a lot of these different tournaments. So I'm very glad to have played them. I'm looking forward to the one we're playing in next weekend. So you know, hopefully it goes well for us. Best of luck to you in this tournament, Stumpy. Maybe we'll meet. Who
Who
knows?
knows? We're both on opposite
That'd be kind
sides,
of
so something special would have to
yeah.
happen, but possibly. I know what you
Could
mean, though,
happen.
of
Could
like
happen.
tournaments. You meet some of the people that you're just friends with for good. Like it's great. I would definitely recommend it if you're playing DBD and you haven't got too many friends that play DBD. Entering a tournament, it doesn't even have to be that serious. Just enter it solo, and you'll get put in a team. You'll make friends who obviously share the same interest as you because they're entering a DBD tournament. And it's just a great way to get to know people, and you can end up being very good friends with those people. So you can. I think it's the likes of Hackison. And Heavy. I am still friends with. Met both of them in tournaments. Met yourself through competitive play. And I think came up
Indeed.
against you in a tournament, but I can't remember. Might have come up against you in one of Perky's tournaments, but
I don't think you have. I don't think
lucky
so.
for you. No, the tournaments are good fun. I think for the most part they all take the same kind of balancing now, or like streamer tournaments all have the same sort of balancing of like, right, let's ban gen perks so gens don't go too fast. But they immediately ban the nurse.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks so much, man. Like, they don't need to be banned. Just let them play perkless, please.
Yeah,
I beg.
a
I'd so play
perkless
them.
nurse would be, I think, would be ample enough because it's like a lot of people going into these tourneys have the hours to know how to go against nurse as well. So, you know, it is even enough. Obviously, you will still have your new players and things like that, but for the most part, people try to balance their teams to have the same or similar hours. So, yeah, I think you usually see nurse banned, and then a lot of streamers will ban the likes of like Clown, Dredge, because they make people sick or like hurt their head, or like Plague, because some people when they hear her vomiting feel sick themselves, things like that. Whereas like competitive, I think is a lot better balanced. It's probably better balanced than the actual game itself. But I can see why DBD wouldn't balance their game the same way as competitive, because they still want it to be a sort of fun version of the game for everybody.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, I see that. Yeah. To be fair,
I think if they had every killer like the same balance, it mightn't be as fun. You know,
yeah.
When you pull off a win with a weaker killer, it can feel a lot better. When you get the best of one of the better killers, it can feel great. It's kind of good that the game isn't like fully perfectly balanced, if you know what I mean.
No, I agree. It's part of the charm, right?
Definitely. So then, in terms of balancing, since we are on the subject of killers and getting bans and stuff like that, what killer do you think has the highest skill ceiling? Like, what killer, if somebody was starting out, do you think they could achieve the most on? You know, they could be just insanely cracked doing things that you wouldn't have even considered could be done. Who do you think that killer is?
I mean, it depends. Like, there are there is maybe one or two killers that I don't think is possible to reach the highest skill ceiling of, therefore I would not consider it like as valid. Like, for example, I think Unknown, in theory, if someone was to play Unknown perfectly, master the collision around everything, always land their shots, everything, that's the highest skill ceiling. But that is so difficult that it will never happen. Nobody will be able to do that, like, to a massive degree. There will always be a lot of mistakes made with a kill like Unknown. Always. Whereas, like, someone like Billy has a high skill ceiling, and you'll see a lot of Billy players make a lot of mistakes here and there, but I think, like, that's more manageable. You will see, like, plenty of games where Billies will play almost perfectly to every degree, and the skill ceiling is still really high. So I'm only going to look at killers that I think the highest skill ceiling is actually attainable with. I don't think it is attainable with someone like Unknown. Even though you can be really, really good with him, I don't think anyone can ever like reach the top, you know, or close to it. I think there's always so much better you can do with this killer. For example, and it might be similar with Singularity as well, but maybe he's been made a bit easier. So I don't know if that's still true, but it used to be. But I'd say with this, right now, maybe it's Wesker, maybe. Just with the amount of different techs Wesker has, and different things. And again, there's some like collision knowledge you need to know. Like if you want to do rebound text, you need collision knowledge. If you want to do hook text, you need like precise timing and like the right look angle, and you need to understand what's in front of you, because if you don't know this, when Wesker does a hook tech, if there is like a giant object like in front, directly in front of where he's looking, he will still bump into it even though it's not actually in front of the hook tech, because the direction you look at is where the game is registering where you're running.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're hook teching round to the right, if there's a tree to your left you're looking at while you hook tech, you're going to hit that tree even though you're not looking at it and it's not there. And so a good Wesker player is going to need to manage around that, know the timings around this, know the what collisions are reboundable, know the distance, and have the patience to hit these bounds consistently. I think this is very high skill ceiling. And to be like really good at this killer is probably the highest skill ceiling killer in the game in my eyes.
That's fair. Yeah, I would have said Billy, because just there are some fucking cracked Billies out there that do things that you would never think possible, and they somehow pull it off where they know, or if I curve exactly like this, I can get through this tile, that tile, to hit someone on that side. They can completely break your ankles, so they can when you're trying to run from them, and it's just nuts to see what they can do. Obviously, you have the fun-loving Billies who find Space Billy and stuff like that. I think just he historically seems to be the killer that the most like discovery has been on. People can find different stuff about him. Like I'd say when the devs brought him out, they never expected people to make curving a thing. They would have thought, nah, that's not going to be a thing. And then suddenly the first guy did it, and then it caught on, and it went crazy. And I think we need more killers like that. But to me, I think he might be the highest. I think there's so far you can go with him. You know?
Stumpy, do you remember the fucking, like, I don't know if you've seen it. There's been a couple of videos made now, like the original like DBD tournament hosted by like Dead by Daylight or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one of the first
we
ones.
We don't talk about that.
The fucking people, the people saw them play Hillbilly, and they realized like midway through, like, oh my god, the Billy is using the chainsaw from ability.
Yeah.
Like I'd never thought you could use it like that. It's so fucking dumb. Like I don't know, it just made me think of that when you mentioned like the devs didn't expect curving. I just remembered like this is that one DVD tournament where the fucking commentators didn't expect the chainsaw to be used to run the distance.
Yeah, it's
so dumb.
That is one of the minimal things you could do on him. But I've seen like I can't remember what Billy main it was, but somebody on Dead Dog using Low Pro was able to break all the breakable, or it was 7 breaks of breakable doors and pallets. I can't remember which was which, and they bounced around the entire Dead Dog map before downing someone. And it was like, that's nuts. That, like, who thinks of that? You know, I think Billies are definitely one of the most creative players. You know, the player base for Billy, they're very creative and they want to do this cool stuff on him, and they're like actively trying to discover more stuff on him. Like, you're on about Weskers. I've seen the likes of like P100 Weskers when they've killed 3 people, they'll let the last guy get the hatch and they'll just sit at a loop trying to hug tack to make sure they have it down. And it's like seeing killers willing to do that sort of work and discover, right, can I get my hug tack better on him, or can I do it consistently every time, is what will get someone to the highest skill ceiling. And I think that player base is the Billies. They try shit that nobody else tries. So they do. Or in my opinion, that's what I think they do.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, I think then we're on to our weekly movie, and one of your favorites, I believe.
I did love it. It was great.
We were talking about the I think we can only call it the god-awful adaptation of Texas Chainsaw Massacre that is on Netflix. You've watched it the most recently. What were your takeaways?
Yeah. I thought it was one of the best pieces of cinema I've ever seen. I thought it was a fantastically produced piece with a brilliant story, fantastic effects, really logical decision making. I thought it was really well crafted, well thought out, and genuinely probably the best Texas Chainsaw Massacre film ever made. I think it was fantastic. said nobody who had ever watched this movie. So this was like, this was special. This was a special movie. This was incredible. Like this was the chosen one of horror movies. This was yeah, and it, just like the chosen one, it was very much burned to a crisp and destroyed. It was so bad. But hey, look, I think what do I say about this movie? I swear, I loved it because of how bad it was. It was so fun to watch because of how badly made. Like it was actually hilarious. So there's so many points I could bring up. I'm gonna bring up a couple that I thought was stupid, but the storyline was a bit dumb to begin with, but that's fine. But there was a few scenes that were like incredibly crazy. So there's this one scene where spoilers obviously for this movie, by the way, as expected. There's this one scene where the like Bubba's mother or whatnot is like in this like police vehicle being driven to the hospital or whatnot, and she dies. It's an old sad moment. And Bubba just like rips off this guy's arm with his hand. Oh, like sorry, doesn't rip it off. He like breaks it,
Yeah.
like the arm into like like tiny pieces. Like I saw, he like just snaps it somehow with his just bare hand, and then like this officer just whips out the gun, like wiggles around a little bit, shoots his friend in the fucking neck, and then dies after like they crash. And then, yeah, that was kind of interesting to begin with. What else happened? There's some crazy, bro. I'm trying to remember. There was this one scene where this old lady character who came in out of nowhere, just randomly. I don't know. Who knows? I didn't see the other movies. She just appeared for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was not really any context given other than, you know, there's a photo to indicate that like she was friends with some people that died a while back. I don't know. Wasn't very clear. But like she got like hit with a chainsaw through her chest and tossed across the street, and she's like an elderly lady who's like, you know, obviously gonna die from
But
that.
she's still
And she
alive.
just like fucking tanks it. She's just fine. She's like, it's, you know, just for the scratch. And just fucking shoots the guy like later on. And it's like completely fine.
Yeah.
Also, someone else to get slashed like through the fucking jaw and neck and everything, and he just like gets up like 10 minutes later and starts walking about like he's like mildly drunk. That's fine. But also there's a scene where like, you know, they're on the bus, the guy has a chainsaw, and everyone just kind of stands there with their
Yeah.
phones and like there's a fucking vlog. And at the end like of that scene, one of the characters has the bright idea, unlike everyone else who died pretty much, that was banging on the windows, they just opened the window instead of, you know, banging it, because apparently you could just open the window the whole fucking time, but everyone was just going banging on the windows for some reason. Like no one actually thought, let's open the window, that's a great idea. No, everyone was just like, if I hit this glass with my hand, surely it's gonna break, right? This is a great idea. Let's not use the clear handle to open the window. That would be dumb.
Yeah.
No. Also, all of them just ran to the windows, and none of them ganged up on this guy. Everyone just like, there'd just be one person that just stands in front of Bubba and just lets him chainsaw him. And then next, it was like a queue, like it's like a polite queue, like, can I get chainsaw next, sir? Excellent, right, good one. So I don't know. It was very interesting. And also at the end, like Bubba just comes in and murders the character you spend like the whole time in the movie with, just out of nowhere after like Bubba got like chainsawed in the face because apparently he's alive. Unlucky. GG's. Like, I don't know. It's so much wrong with this movie. It was so funny to watch though. Like, it was really, really funny. Because that's just the tip of the iceberg on how bad it was. Like, and how many unrealistic things happened. But it was really funny. I know. What do you think, Stumpy? What are you got
I
to say
think
about it?
it's one of those movies that was so bad. I would love to see a sequel just to see how much worse it could get. If their
Yeah.
sole goal was to make the most cringy film ever, they fully succeeded. Like, I think it sums it up when a character who is very clearly wearing someone else's face and has a chainsaw in their hand, you know, you'd be thinking when they walked onto your bus, oh fuck. The reaction is all to pull up their phones, and one guy just goes, "Are you gonna get cancelled, bro?" Like, nah, stop it. Just no, please, don't ruin a good thing. The character, the old woman you were on about, by the way, was one of the original characters. I know people will not be happy with that, but I think they more brought her back because I'm just gonna say it. Halloween brought back Laurie Strode, and they thought, oh,
Yeah.
people took well to that. let's bring her back for this. No, it didn't save your movie. I'm sorry. I hate to be so
I'm
critical,
sure-
but this was a shocking movie.
I'm sure when they brought back Laurie Strode, though, they probably like made it apparent for someone who hadn't seen the other movies who Laurie was. This just like to me as someone who hadn't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it was just like an old lady who like clearly they'd had some experience with Bubba, but like we found out about that like a bit later. And at the start, it just seemed like a crazy old lady who'd just been like, okay, anyway, let's just do some random shit.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, you find out a little bit later, okay, clearly like this person killed their friends or something, and that's what's going on. But like that could have been made so much clearer a bit ago, and it didn't even feel like it was a main character. Like when I watched Scream 5, when that was my first Scream movie, I didn't know the characters, but I could tell like which ones were legacy, you know, which ones were old, like I was supposed to care about them. This wasn't introduced that way. This was just introduced as like a random old lady who was unhappy. Like, it didn't feel like a legacy character coming back, you know, that I'm supposed to feel big about. It felt like some like somewhat deranged old lady came around, like staring at like some car crash and then just driven around. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
So I feel like the producers or whatever, you know, the people who made this movie did a horrendous job making like a sense of scale to this character. You know, it just felt like a completely token character to someone who hadn't seen the other
I
movies.
think there were a lot of situations where I came out of the movie myself thinking, like, there's a lot of situations there that could have been solved by things you've already showed in the movie. So, like, on a big example, they get to the town. It's meant to be everything's in their name. There's a woman still living in this orphanage, and she says, "No, I sorted it with the bank." For a movie that makes it very clear that it's up to date and they've got the technology, why not lift the phone and ring the bank? Every one of them has been sitting on their phone on the way there. Why not just lift the phone and go, here, just to clear this up? Why go, no, you need to get out of here and start on a random old woman who, for all you know, could be absolutely correct, and it turned out she was. But that, and then at the end of the movie, my biggest gripe with this movie, you have seen this guy take a serious amount of punishment and keep coming to try and kill you. When he is in the water and you have a shotgun in your hand, why would you not just make sure? You know? Zombieland put it brilliantly.
Yeah.
Double tap. Just shoot him in the head. Be done with it. Make absolutely sure that he's not coming back. But or check your mirrors when you're driving out of the place. Like, it's just very, I don't know, it's just such easily avoidable conflict. It's like your whole movie is based on something that is just down to the stubbornness of your characters. It wasn't great character development to make them like brainless, you know? It's just that my biggest gripe with the whole thing is like, this movie couldn't have happened if they made a phone call. It's so fucking easy.
Yeah.
It's like just the stupid decisions. And I know it's like, oh, horror movie characters never make the right decision. This is like extra stupid. You know, it's just, it's like you can see you creating this movie by not putting much effort into it, if you know what I mean. Or like, and I hate to hate on a movie so much, but I hated that movie so much.
Hey, I loved that movie so much. It was such a great time. I loved it.
We definitely have to watch the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre so you can get an idea of a good movie. It's just, this is...
Well, I'm only going to agree to watch it if we watch this one together.
Oh, dear God. I have to relive it.
I have to see this again. It's so good. It's my favorite movie now, honestly. Unironically. It's so good. It's so great. It's terrible, but it's great.
Oh, Jesus. No, it's... Oh, no. I can't. Just a movie I don't vibe with at all.
We have to do it. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I think that then wraps us up on that bombshell, as they used to say on Top Gear, which it absolutely was. That is our podcast, and I believe you have the streamer spotlight this week, so I'll let you take it away.
All right. Well. It's that time again, guys. Streamer spotlight. So, I am going to be mentioning for the streamer spotlight today a guy called XSeventhSin or XSeventhSin. Very, very cool guy. A nurseman. A complete coincidence.
Oh, of course you'd pick a nurseman.
It just happens to be that I picked the nurseman. It's not that I'm main nurse or anything. You know, I don't really feel too differently about her to any other DBD killer, but you know, it happens to be a nurse main. Also, a Felix main. They rotate between Survivor and Nurse quite a bit. I've watched them for quite a long time, almost 2 years now, and I've played in a tournament alongside them as well. This was, I believe, whose tournament was it? Oh my god, there's too many. I think it was Roseblade's last tournament, maybe. Yes, it was. Roseblade's last tournament. No, wait, maybe Tony's. Oh my god, there's too many. Okay, you know what? It was someone's last tournament. But yes, absolutely legendary streamer. Really, really nice person. And yeah, I'm not got a bad way. Not got a bad word to say about him. Just super nice guy. Always really cool to see him play. Pretty good nurse player as well. And yeah, it would be very cool of you guys to go check him out if you're interested in that sort of gameplay. Very, very cool guy.
So there you go. That's another podcast wrapped up. I will put it out to you guys who are listening. If you've got any questions for us, you know, we are shite at coming up with topics. So if you have any questions, stick them in the comments, stick them in the Discord if you are in either of our Discords, which I know a lot of you are. And yeah, we'll try and answer as many as we can, probably all of them, because we sit here for 45 minutes before every podcast coming up with what we're going to talk about.
So
that would help us a lot. But yeah, if you have anything you just want to ask us, any questions you have about life, DBD, streaming, it's completely up to you guys. Ask away. Right, so that's us. Good luck, lads.
Fuck you.
See you on the next one.
Have a good one, guys. We will see you in the next episode of the Totally Stump podcast. Woohoo! All right, let's go.